Hello everyone, and welcome to week 2 of The Artist's Way in a bullet journal. I am very excited about the walkthrough for this week because I just loved week 2. Before we get into the exercises for the week though, I don't think I explained The Artist's Way very well at all in my first video. I don't think I touched on what the program is or anything like that. The Artist's Way is basically a 12-week program to recover or discover your creativity. This is not just for artists. Anyone can do this program because creativity really infuses everyone's life in one way or another. You don't have to be an artist, a painter, a sculptor to be using your creative skills. Even someone who doesn't have any of those hobbies or pastimes can use creativity in different ways in their life. Crafting a daily routine, cooking, finding more productive or efficient ways of doing things, or just looking at things differently, problem solving at work, all of this involves creativity, and the Artist's Way can help you nurture that a little bit more and bring it out a little bit more. Week 1 was a great week because I was excited about starting the program, but the exercises were tough at times. I really had to delve into my past, why I think the things that I think, where my blurts and core negative beliefs come from, and it was hard taking a step into my past and thinking about all of these things. I feel like week 2 was a little bit more future focused, and I found the exercises a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get to the walkthrough. Here is the bullet journal that I'm using to document my progress in the Artist's Way. This is a blank notebook. It's the Leuchtturm 1917 A5 dotted notebook. I'm gonna open it up, and before we get into week 2, I wanted to show you an update on a couple of the spreads. So this spread here is an overview of the 12-week program. As you can see, I have completed 2 weeks, which is denoted by me filling in part of the cloud. I did change the color of this cloud. If you watched my week 1 video, this was this blue color initially, but I've changed it to this teal color. I use pencil crayons to fill in the color, so I was able to just very easily erase the pigment and refill in a different color. The reason I decided to change the color was because initially when I filled out this cloud, I was going to do the clouds based on my mood or how I felt during each of the given weeks. But then I thought, since I already have a mood tracker, why not do something a little bit different with this page? So now the color instead denotes how well I liked the exercises and the tasks for the week. I also wanted to show you an update on the trackers. So as you can see, I now have the second week all colored in for my mood tracker. My mood still fluctuates a lot, even in one given day. On an overall basis, I've been in a fairly good mood, which is wonderful. The last page that I want to show before moving on to week 2 are some other trackers. So morning pages I've been keeping up with. I've done them every day for the past 2 weeks. And as well, I've been having my artist dates always on Tuesday for whatever reason. Today is Tuesday as well, and I'm having my artist date today. Those were all the updates I wanted to share before moving on to week 2. If you guys have been following along with my journey over the years, you may know that I have a little Netherland dwarf bunny, a gray rabbit named Truffle, and this week was an ode to Truffle. Truffle wasn't feeling very well, and I was quite worried about him, and so because he was on my mind, I decided to do a bunny theme. Originally, I was going to do a red rose theme, so this is completely different, but I'm so happy with the way this turned out. Week 2 was all about recovering a sense of identity, and I chose a quote from the margins of the week 2 chapter of The Artist's Way to highlight in this section here. I decided to lay out the key concepts in a different way using all of these different call out boxes. These are all of the key concepts that I wanted to call out from the chapter that I want to remember going forward. I did borrow the Artist's Way book from the writing studio that I work at, so when I return that book, I will just have this bullet journal with all of my thoughts, exercises, and key concepts transcribed into here. So this is going to be my book of reference going forward, unless of course I want to redo The Artist's Way at another point in my life. And actually a number of people do that, a number of creatives. do the artist's way every few years, including Elizabeth Gilbert. I pretty much did all of the tasks again in week 2, so very similar to week 1. There were only 2 that I missed, and I'm pretty happy with my progress in that respect. The next page includes a basic principles tracker here. This is to track how often I read the basic principles from the intro section. You may recall this spread here with the basic principles and the contract. One of the tasks in week 2 was to read these basic principles once in the morning and once in the evening, so twice a day. I did that every single day, so I filled in this grid with these alternating colors. The colors don't mean anything, I just wanted to have a checkerboard pattern. This section is where I played with the color scheme for the bunny theme. Jumping into the first exercise, this was a 20 things I enjoyed doing exercise, and I loved it. It is exactly what it sounds like. You list 20 things you enjoy doing, and I have 20 of these little boxes, each box containing one thing that I enjoy doing. You're also supposed to add in a date that you last completed the item, and I found a lot of the things that I've been doing all year, so a lot of my dates are 2020. The only ones that I haven't done for a while are going on a photo walk and creating a photo series. I last did that in 2018 when I was in Iceland. There were also these 2 boxes here. One was spending hours engrossed in a good book. I haven't done that since 2019, since last year. Also traveling or exploring new places with hubby, and again, because of the pandemic, we haven't done that since 2019. The only one that I haven't done in recent years is this one here, and that is doing a new to me 1,000 plus piece puzzle. The last time I did that was in 2009, so that is a very, very long time ago. One of the things that we had to do for this week was pick 2 of these items and actually do them. So I picked recording videos for YouTube, and I also picked spending hours engrossed in a good book. That's denoted with these hearts here that are colored in with a darker pink color. I didn't end up doing the reading, but I did end up recording a video, and I also did end up learning about something that I'm interested in. So I used these little hearts with a lighter pink color to denote the things I actually did. So I did 2 of the things on my list of things I enjoy doing, but they weren't the 2 that I expected. Where Does My Time Go is an exercise that involves tracking your time essentially. It doesn't say to track it by the day, but I decided I wanted to do it that way. So I tracked my time every day for the entire week, and then I have a weekly recap that has the broad categories of the things that I ended up doing. As part of this exercise, we were also supposed to highlight some topics that we want to protect. This chapter is all about protecting your inner artist and the identity of your inner artist, and to really steer clear of the people who don't nurture your creativity. The chapter calls these people in your life poisonous playmates or crazy makers. So in this section here, you were supposed to call out some topics that you want to protect, and then you were supposed to list the names of people who you would allow in that space. So these are people that you would share these topics with, and then on the outside you would list the names of the people that you feel aren't really looking out for your best interest at the moment or in that particular topic for whatever reason, and these are the people that you need to protect these topics from. So instead of putting names, I decided to do this exercise based on the size of the circle. So the small circles represent topics that I'm holding closer to my heart. These are the topics that I feel need a bit more protection. So these are items like my health and wellness, my finances and investment strategy, my marriage and personal relationships. I let a few people into these things. Everyone else is outside of that circle. So I'm not disseminating a lot of information about these topics to people outside of these inner circles. The bigger circles are the topics that I don't mind being a little bit more forthcoming about with different people. I share a lot of what I'm doing in these topics with a variety of different people. There are still people that I need to protect these topics from, but I can allow a few more people in, and that's denoted by these little hearts. So these small circles each have 2 hearts in them, denoting, say, a couple of people. And then these bigger circles, I have 5 little hearts in them, not necessarily specifying 5 people, but just denoting that I let more people into these circles than I do these ones. And these topics are my personal projects, creative interests, and hobbies. You guys know I share a lot about that on my YouTube channel. And now, because I am in work that I actually enjoy doing, I'm also sharing more of my work, my professional development, and training. The next exercise is called 10 Tiny Changes, and these are tiny changes that you want to make to your life. While the book calls this 10 Tiny Changes, I noticed that some changes were a little bit more significant, so I just put whatever changes I wanted to make to my life on this page here. It asked you to choose one that you wanted to focus on for the week. So I decided to pick practice yoga 2 to 3 times per week. You guys know this has been on my list for a super long time if you watch my goals videos. I denoted it with a little heart, but I didn't have enough time to do it because by the time I finished this exercise, we were already at the end of the week. I did end up doing yoga 1 time during the week, but it wasn't enough to earn me another heart for completion. I'm glad I have this page to refer back to because I often tend to forget the things that I want to do, which is why I keep so many different lists of that nature, including my 101 and 1001, which is on my new website. I'll link that down below. The exercise on this page is called 5 More Imaginary Lives, and it builds off of the exercise I did in week 1, where I listed out 5 things I would be doing in my other lives if I had 5 other lives to lead. In my 5 More Imaginary Lives, I chose junk food reviewer, jewelry designer, cherry tree orchard owner, wellness blogger, and singer. I found it hard to think of these ones. When I think of something, I often think of all of the cons, why I wouldn't want to be doing those things, whereas maybe I just need to go with my first instinct and write them down and then analyze after the things I like and the things I don't like, rather than censoring myself. I'm not sure if this exercise is going to come up again in future chapters, but if it does, I'm really gonna try to go with my first initial thought without censoring myself or overanalyzing the things that I choose. But overall, I'm happy with the way this turned out in terms of the items that I chose to write down, and of course in terms of the way the rabbits turned out. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. The last exercise that I completed for this week was my life pie. If you're familiar with bullet journaling or journaling any type of self-development work, you may recognize this exercise as being very similar to level 10 life. And that's kind of where I took the categories for this exercise. The Artist's Way gave 6 different categories, but I felt like there were a few that were missing. So I cross-referenced those categories with level 10 life, and I came up with these ones here, which are very, very similar to level 10 life. There might be like a few categories where I used a different title, but overall, it's very similar. The categories that I used were partner, so this would be my husband, family and friends, play, work, finances, exercise, home, and this is your physical home environment, spirituality, personal growth, and belonging. The dot indicates your current level of fulfillment in each of these areas. And as you can probably tell, belonging is the one that I really don't feel a lot of fulfillment in, at least not right now. This is something I'm working on. I'm working on both defining belonging, and I'm working on trying to figure out what I need to feel more fulfilled in this area, and I'm not quite sure yet. Of course, I can improve in all of these categories, but the area that I really want to focus on is this area here because it is the lowest in terms of my fulfillment. The last spread that I'm going to share with you is my week 2 check-in, and again, I just love the way this turned out. This is very similar to the other spreads that I laid out in this fashion, where I used small call-out boxes, rabbits, and the color pink as accents. I also really liked that I used smaller headings this week. I found the headings from week 1 a bit too big. On camera, they're of course easier to see and they stand out a lot more, but in real life, when I look through the bullet journal, I just find this size heading more visually appealing when I'm reading through my own stuff. On this page, I put in all of my key reflections. So I talked about my morning pages practice, which was wonderful as always. I talked about my artist date, which was so much fun. What I ended up doing for my artist date in week 2 was propagating my baby spider plant, which was on my list for a very long time. It was really nice to get into the soil. It was my first time doing this. I've never had a baby spider plant before. Hopefully it survives. And I recorded a video, which was the last video that you would have seen on this channel, week 1 of the Artist's Way in my bullet journal. So that was what I did last week for my artist date, and the momentum has carried forward because I'm now recording this video. I talked about my learnings in terms of my identity. So this week was all about recovering your sense of identity. And as I was looking through all of the exercises that I completed, I really thought about what is it that brings me joy? What keeps coming up over and over again? And I realized that creativity is truly a huge part of my identity. I also realized that a huge part of my identity involves learning and finding applications for what I learn. I really love pulling information from different sources and harmonizing the information, very similar to how I'm using the bullet journal to document my journey in the Artist's Way. I just feel like these two items are a perfect pairing. I've wanted to do both, and the feeling I get from being able to do two things that I wanted to do simultaneously, it just feels very rewarding. So that's another huge part of my identity, is to do that. Pull information from different sources, pull things from different disciplines, and join them together. The other thing that I realized that is a huge part of my identity is sharing. I love sharing my journey on YouTube, on my website, with family and friends. It's just something that makes me feel very good inside, regardless of whether or not I'm impacting or influencing anyone's life. It feels good for me just to put myself out there, and I'm not sure where that comes from, but I've always had that in my nature, and I'm really starting to realize it. Those were kind of the key learnings, the key realizations I had for week 2 when I was recovering my sense of identity. I also took a few more pieces from the book that I wanted to remember that I forgot to do spreads for. So I wanted to remember the rules of the road from the Artist's Way, and if you have the book, you'll know what those are in week 2. I put in 3 quotes that really resonated with me, and then I had 3 final reflections. That is going to be it for week 2 of the Artist's Way in my bullet journal. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions for me, please do feel free to leave them down below. Once again, if you have done the Artist's Way program, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. As well, I'd love to hear your experience with bullet journaling if that's a hobby that you've taken on as well. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll be back again very soon with week 3 of the Artist's Way in my bullet journal. Until then, please take care and bye for now.